Hey guys, and welcome to another episode in our digital classroom series about how did I shoot this one? And today it's all about a location shoot with Nadine. And this is the image. So during our workshops on location in Emmeloord, there is this huge challenge. As photographers, we love to shoot on great locations, right? But where do you find those great locations? We're willing to fly for it, right? Or travel long miles. But did you know that most locations can actually be found next to your home, your studio, or even in your town? And that's because when you walk by them, we don't notice them anymore. But as soon as you start looking with your photographer's eyes, some locations that look boring can be really interesting. And that's what this workshop is all about. But first, some information. When we shoot during a workshop with strobes outside, we can't use something called HSS or ETTL. Now, ETTL I don't use a lot because we mostly shoot manual with the light meter. But HSS can be really interesting outside. Now, when you don't shoot with HSS, you are limited to a shutter speed of 1/125th of a second. That has to do with your X-sync or your second shutter curtain. Now, because we're doing a workshop, we are limited to that 1/125th of a second. And that's because if you want to shoot HSS, you need a special commander for each different camera. And in this workshop, for example, we have somebody shooting with a Fuji, somebody shooting with a Sony, and somebody shooting with a Pentax. And it means that those people couldn't do HSS. So we decided for the workshops to use the so-called dumb triggers. Now those triggers, they just trigger the strobe and they work on all systems. So that means that we are limited to our shutter speed of 1/125th. Now in the past you had to use very, very large strobes on location. And well, because you're limited to 1/125th, that also means that you're often, well, limited to f/16, f/22. So you get a lot of depth of field. This is where HSS really shines, because now you can shoot on very high shutter speeds on 2.8. But hey, we have that limitation, so how do we solve it? Well, I'm shooting with a GT200 on location today. Now, one of the things that the first you have to look for in your strobes is how is the light emitted from the strobe. Now, when you look at the GT200, you can see that it uses a Fresnel lens. When we look at our GT250, for example, you can see that it uses a round strobe. Now, believe it or not, the 250 has less output than the 200. So that means that on location, we prefer to use the 200. But even with the 200 on full power in the bright sun, you're still not hitting f/16 or f/22 if you take a little bit of a distance from your model. So you need something else. You need something to amplify your light output. And that's where a light shaper comes in. Now we all know the well-known reflector. So this is the reflector. This is a normal reflector and it will give you a little bit more light output. But what if you need more power? That's when we're using this one. Now this is a really large one and this will give you a lot more output. Now we just mount those to our strobes with a converter and now on location we have more than enough light output to literally shoot day to night in the bright sunlight. So let's first take a look at our first setup. Now the first setup is actually the fence of our neighbors. And it's very, very nice blue with all these little, well, squeezes inside where you can just see the sun creeping through. And every time when I walk the dog there, I just see the sun coming through and I always look at it going like, that would be an interesting shot. So today, because Nadine was wearing jeans in her first outfit, we thought that would be the first great location. We started out with just using that large reflector on our model. And by moving the camera just up and down a little bit left and right, you can see the sun creeping through the fence and it already gave you a beautiful shot. But at that point I thought, let's add a little bit mood. And how can you create mood better than by using a gel? So we added another strobe and on that strobe we mounted the magnetic system from Rogue with a blue gel. And that's actually what you see in the final result. Hey, we can talk about the lighting setup for hours, but it's always much easier to see it in action during the live shoot. So let's go to the behind the scenes video and you will see the video and the results. So as you can see, location next to our studio, pretty great shots, right? And of course, great styling by Nadine. If you have any questions or any problems in your photography, feel free to leave them in the comments below or just reach out via our social media. We would highly appreciate a like on this video and of course a share. Tell your friends about it so we can grow our channel and create more content. Thank you so very much for watching, guys, and see you again next time. Bye bye.